sportsfix at AOL.com. And I did want to mention here as we were talking before we came to the break, and you know what, there's a difference here, because I know some of you are going to say, oh, well, you know, you had a problem with it when Bill Livingston did it, and Johnny Manziel, exactly, and I'll qualify what I'm about to say. It was a cool, as a matter of fact, I think these were on the Cleveland.com site, but they also compiled them and put it into a pull-out section here this past weekend about the new book that Terry Pluto and Tom Hamilton have put together about glory days in Tribe Town, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this. I've got a copy out in the mail coming my way here this week. Looking forward to getting a look at that myself. And here's one of the biggest differences. One of the biggest differences is that this is blatantly upfront. You know, everybody knows what it is, but it wasn't hidden. And that was my problem with the Livingston Manziel things. And number one, it wasn't done by even the guy. It was done by a friend of his. I mean, this is at least the Indians writer here who's a part of this project. I kind of get that a little bit, but it's not disingenuously placed in the middle of articles strategically placed in the sports page to look like part of the day-to-day articles of the newspaper. To me, that's a little bit of trickery. It would be like if tomorrow I wasn't here on the show and I decided to let, you know, an author, you know, I'll say Vince McKee. I decided to let an author do the show and spend 2 hours telling you about his books, but doing it under the guise of talking about the news. You know what I mean? And it would be completely disingenuous, because you would try to, I'm getting hit up here that there's a problem with the phone lines. Hey guys, I'm not sure what's up with that. Let me try to figure that out here. Yeah, I'm getting hit up by you guys that there's a problem on the phone line. So let's see. I don't know. No, they appear to be working to me. However, maybe not working for incoming calls. That could be the problem here. I apologize, guys, if you've tried to call in and there's a problem with the phone lines. I'll deal with that. They're working going out, but not in. All right, I'll take care of that here as we roll on. Nothing I can do about it live, so I apologize. So if you've tried to call, that's why you can't get through on the phone lines there. There's something wrong, obviously, on the phone lines. I can call out, so I will be able to get Dan Wismar on the phones here before we roll on. Apologize about that. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. And I'm going to try and see if I can't get something else working here. Anyways, getting back to what I was saying. It was some good stuff, the pull-out section that they had here. But it got me to thinking, you know, because I was looking, and I was going to talk about this here today anyway on the show with the I don't know if you guys saw, but there was an article out there about the Indians and what they've got, and that's not fair over there in the chat room. No, nobody's been blocked. I'm not sure. You know what? I'll tell you what it is, since we're already all discombobulated and off the subject, is I changed the way I pay. It's no difference. I went in and changed my payment method, and I added more options. So now I was unable to do certain things with my phone lines here, and I made it where I had a little more flexibility. But apparently there may have been a problem there with maybe it's the phone number itself. I'm not sure, but I'm going to try this here now, because I do have a caller on the phone lines, and it's Larry. So let's see if he's there. LG, are you with me?
J-Rock Daddy, can you hear me?
All right. I can hear you, my man. I can hear you. I don't know what happened there. But,
is there a new phone number? Because it's showing me a different number with a different area code.
I was just explaining. I was just explaining it, my man. I'm not sure, but apparently I'm going to have to go put my foot off in some Skype people here before when we go off the air and figure out what's going on.
Hey, J-Rock Daddy, all I do is look down and I see the rest of the AFC North below us, man. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. How about that? Absolutely. And
how about that relationship between Mike Patton and Brian Hoyer, J-Rock Daddy?
I'll tell you, I mean, there's a lot of good things. I mentioned that. All it does, though, right now, is give you the chance to say, hey, on Monday, November 10th, we're in first place, and here's the thing. You control your own destiny from here on out. You go out, you win games, you take care of your business. Nobody can deny you what you're trying to do, is what I'm saying. You don't have to worry about what anybody else does. And I do think that this team does a good job of just week to week not looking ahead. They do better than we do. They do better than the media does. They do better than the fans do. I think the one time this season that they did catch themselves looking a bit ahead, they got smacked around because of it, and I think they learned their lesson there. Although, I still think people underestimated, not Jacksonville, people underestimated how discombobulated the Browns were in that first 2 or 3 weeks coming out of all the changes with the offensive line and that. But that being said, we've seen they've done a good job since then of compartmentalizing week by week. That's how they're going to have to get this done.
Well, J-Rod, Daddy, we saw yesterday when the New York Jets, you talk about a team that's discombobulated with a clown for a head coach. We saw the New York Jets tear down a smoking red hot, record-setting Ben Roethlisberger, who was touted as being the best quarterback in the NFL over those 2 weeks of his life. I mean, he did something no other quarterback has ever done, 6 touchdown passes, 2 consecutive games. There's been a lot of quarterbacks playing NFL football for years and years and years, and Roethlisberger, and we saw it yesterday. Now, what are you going to say? It just goes to prove the point, J-Rod, Daddy. When the Browns lost to Jacksonville, maybe they didn't take it as serious as they should have, but this is, after all, the NFL, and these teams would not be playing in the NFL if they weren't capable of beating teams. That's why you have to be on your toes every minute of every football game, and you have to come out smoking like the Cleveland Browns did last Thursday night, man. But I want to use the sports picks as a platform for a public apology. Do you mind, J-Rock?
Go ahead.
I want to say I'm very sorry to Mike Pettin when he first came as the Cleveland Browns head coach. You know me, J-Rock, a long time. I was skeptical if this is the guy for the situation. I was skeptical that the Cleveland Browns had to settle for somebody that was less than capable of doing the job after what we saw happen to Chazinski, and no other NFL candidate wanted to come to Cleveland because they thought the clowns were still going to be in town running the Cleveland Browns. Thank God they got rid of Lombardi and Joe, whatever the hell his name was, Banner, because that brought some realism to this Cleveland Browns football team. Stepping up with Ray Farmer in the general manager position, I liked that move. I thought it would be an out for the Browns having Farmer as a GM because, after all, he did not hire Mike Pettin to be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. The last regime did. But I got to tell you, J-Rock, I give Pettin a lot of credit. I'm sorry I doubted the guy, but you know what? I'd rather be proven wrong, by a guy that's going to come in here and turn things around. It's been a long time coming. Sorry I underestimated the power of Pettin. I like that this guy showed the balls to stand stout in his belief in Brian Hoyer. People may not realize the relationship that goes back to last season when Pettin sent Hoyer a personal note after watching him get his ACL torn in the Buffalo game when Pettin was the Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator. He saw something in Hoyer. He knew this was the guy, and there's a lot of pressure around J-Rock. We got to give Pettin a lot of credit for standing stout in his belief in Hoyer and making sure that he put the best quality football team on this field that we've seen in years. And hopefully, this Cleveland Browns team doesn't take any more teams for granted coming up in this last 7-game stretch. You got the Houston Texans coming into town. You know, J.J. Watt's one heck of a good football player. He's going to test every single guy on that offensive line this coming game, Big J-Rock. And the other end of the spectrum is Clowney. I'm not sure how healthy he is or what his potential is yet in the NFL. The guy gets injured a lot. But Clowney and J.J. Watt are going to give the Browns offensive line more than they can handle. This team needs to come out smoking, and they need to play the same type of football we've seen in Cincinnati, man.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it, man. And that's the thing is, I've talked to some different people here today and over the weekend. Some people, and I love this line, I'm still not buying. I said, last I checked, I wasn't selling. I'm not trying to sell you anything. If you don't want to believe it, that's fine. I mean, the Indians have to prove a lot of things I wanted to talk about the Indians, so I got them in the back of my mind. Browns got to prove a lot of things to a lot of people here, and they haven't, like I said, man, they haven't won anything. But They have the potential, not just the potential, they have the opportunity. It's right there. Everything you've asked for, go get it. Go play your football and go get it. And I will say this, I don't fear Houston. They can beat you just like any other team. And obviously, Arian Foster's a weapon. I don't fear Ryan Fitzpatrick or Mallett. Either one of them. I know Mallett's going to start, but you never know how that's going to go because they're making the change coming off of a bye. That's one of the things that makes me feel good because you know what that means when a team's changing a quarterback coming off of the bye. It means they're desperate. They're going for something. They do got J.J. Watt. They do have something worried about. But overall, the talent level on Houston does not scare me. It's here. The Browns have no reason not to go to 7-3 and then knock, knock, knock. Hey, my name's Josh Gordon. Can I come practice with you guys a little bit? And maybe that adds a piece to the team. I'm not one of these guys saying that's going to be a difference maker, but it's the threat of a difference maker, which will open more things up for the other guys more than anything else. I think that he just gives you something else that defenses are going to have to respect a little bit, especially as the weather starts getting more treacherous here down the road. But that's where I'm at on that, and it all starts this week. You know, everybody got to enjoy this weekend, a little bit of extra stretch of time before, you know, the Browns had to worry about playing another game. Now it's back in the regular routine like everybody else. It's Houston coming up here this week. And I want to segue this, Larry, as I get out of this, because then I'm going to get Dan Wismar on with us here. But the same, what I was saying before you called, it kind of went away a bit, but I'm glad you did. But I want to circle it back around because you've got the Browns here. And wherever here is right now to you, think about this. I keep reminding some of my friends, I said, now this is the more fun way to talk about, well, look at what's coming in the next year or two. When you look at the core and you go, man, these guys are a good football team now, getting better. Wherever you think here is right now, they're going to add a lot to it in the next offseason with $30 million in cap room, with at least 2 first-round picks, a second, a third, 2 fourths, an opportunity to add whatever. I was telling a buddy yesterday, I said, what is it that you think the Browns need? He was like, man, I wouldn't mind another pass rusher. I said, well, they have what they need to go get it in the draft. What is it that you think? If you think they need an offensive lineman, do you think they need a wide receiver? Whatever it is, they can add those pieces this winter. That should be, or this offseason. That should be something to keep you excited. We're watching what the Cavs are doing as they continue to grow together. That's already just begun. Like, what I mean is the fun there has just begun. And then the Indians, which is where I started this, and I'll circle back around to it. The Indians are in a good place as far as having a young, underpriced core to the team. They've got a few years where these guys are underpriced. That means that you can actually add some pieces and not go way over your payroll, because right now you got a chunk of guys like Corey Kluber making $500,000, and you got a bunch of guys that are way underpaid. They have their window, not the fake window, a real window of opportunity. The Indians, too, coming this spring, have a chance. I believe, I said it, and I'll say it again, the next 12 months we'll see all 3 Cleveland teams make the playoffs. Whether it's this Brown season or next, I can't tell you, whichever one. It doesn't matter where you want to start the clock. Point is I believe that we're going to reach an era where for the next few years, all 3 teams will be contenders. Now, beyond that, that's up to them to keep it going. But I believe for the next few years, all 3 Cleveland teams will be contenders at the same time. Is there enough fan dollar to support that? We're going to find out. I think there is, but we're going to find out.
Well, J-Rock, we've seen it before. You put a winner on the table for Cleveland sports fans, and unfortunately we'll talk about the Indians first because obviously they have a dire need to bring the fan base back to that field. But, I mean, come on. As soon as they opened the Jake, we saw sellout after sellout after sellout, and correct me if I'm wrong, J-Rock, I believe that set a Major League ballpark record back then. So when you put a team together with the nucleus to win, and you can be competitive year after year after year, that's what the Cleveland fans respect. That's what the Cleveland fans want to see. Unfortunately, Browns football isn't falling into that category because you know the fan's going to support it because it's more of a happening. It's more of a thing. Let's go down and tailgate. Let's get so drunk we don't even remember there's a football game going on. and that's why the Browns fans have flocked to that stadium